恭敬大德神定，为此法会及一切众生，亲算妙法论，教导我们如何了生脱死，离苦得乐，速成无生。Will the Sangha with great virtue, out of compassion, for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to leave suffering and attain bliss, and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble and perfectly enlightened one. Namo sadanto suchetoye alahati sanmiao sanputo che. 无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in a billion eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Namo, quelling disasters, lengthening life, Medicine Master Buddha. 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 Medicine Master does come one, Medicine Master does come one, Medicine Master does come one, Medicine Master does come one. Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Rebel Master, and all good knowing advisors, Amitabha, welcome back. This is lecture number 153. So, I remember last week someone had a question regarding, was it Mr. Tan or Mr. Tai? Whose question was that? Not this one, sorry, hold on. No. Wait, hold on. Oh, sorry, excuse me. I showed the wrong slide. Where is the slide? Oh, okay, got it. All right, sorry about that. Okay, who asked this question about pronunciation last week?
It's Mr. Tai.
Oh, Mr. Tai. Okay. All right, thank you. So someone asked Shifu the same question because this is a question many people ask. So Shifu says, all things are created by the mind alone, from the mind. If you pronounce incorrectly, however, it is not done intentionally, then it is not your fault. It should not matter. As long as you are sincere, even if you make mistakes in your recitation, you will receive the response all the same. The mantra spirits know that you are not reciting the mantra with a disrespectful or careless attitude. There you go. Okay. One thing that Buddhism emphasizes on is intention. So you cannot judge a person just by the outside, just by the appearance or the form. You have to, the intention counts for a lot. And this is very important because there are times in the monastery where people do things where it's by accident. For example, you accidentally break a cup in the monastery, and sometimes people get very scared because of cause and effect. They say, oh, you know, actually I have a true story. Okay, this is a true story. When I came back from to Malaysia, I wanted something where I can brew my tea in. So there was a what do you call it, like a flask, but it's made of glass and it's double wall. Yeah, both walls are glass. So it had the Heart Sutra inscribed on it on the outside. So it looks very nice, and no one was using it. And the reason why I wanted to use that was because it could keep the water warm or hot, and it had a clip-on metal filter. So when you pour the tea, the leaves don't come out. So it was ideal for tea. It was made for tea. And so I said, okay, I'm going to use it. And then someone saw me using it, and the person was in shock, like disbelief. He said, huh? You're going to use that? I said, yes. Why? And the person said, but it has the Heart Sutra written on it. Maybe because I don't read Chinese, so I didn't know what it was. Maybe the person thought. So I said, yes, it has the Heart Sutra on it. Then the person said, what if you break it? You know, and I said, why? What would happen if I were to break it? And I was saying, it's a Heart Sutra. If you break it, then, you know, your karma won't be good. But that's not what the Buddha taught about karma. When the Buddha thought about karma, the Buddha thought that intention is very important. So you can't judge people just based on what they do or what happens. So like if you come to the temple and you break something, or you accidentally do something and other people accuse you, but you know in your heart that wasn't your intention. Like if you took something, you thought it was yours, but then someone says, oh, you're stealing something. But if you know you did not, then you don't have to worry. Because if you don't understand what intention is, then you can easily turn everything into Buddhism becomes very superstitious, and overzealous, where people judge you based on the outside and not on the inside. All right? Okay. Now let's go to...
Sure.
Yes, Ron.
Could I follow on with a question regarding this question?
Yes, of course.
So when the Dharma came to the China, it was originally in Sanskrit, and then they use Mandarin, right, as the next language, right?
Yes.
And I was always curious why, for example, there's a lot of people in the various provinces, but I'll just take like the Guangdong province, where they speak not Mandarin, but they speak
Cantonese.
Cantonese. That's right. And I'm wondering, could you? I mean, there's people who can maybe recite it in Cantonese. Would that fall under this answer here?
Yes, there will be nothing wrong if someone were to recite it in Cantonese.
Or any of the dialects of China?
Yeah, not just the dialects, but even Mandarin itself has different pronunciations. Even if you recite in Mandarin, if you're from the south, it sounds different from the north because they have different accents, just like how English is pronounced differently. Say if you're from central London, compared to from the boroughs or from the north. The same words are pronounced very differently. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that. I thought it only could be, Mandarin because, that's what we're learning, I mean, that's what it's written in. I mean, that's a transliteration is in Mandarin. Okay,
Yes.
this is new. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's not even and you all, like you just said, Mandarin is not even the original. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So like even in English, it's hard to enunciate certain not vowels, but the way certain words are pronounced in English. Sometimes you can't get it right as well through English spelling without all the diacritics, and then that just confuses people more. Okay. Since we are on questions, does anyone have any questions? No? Okay, anyway, let me get to today's slide. Let me figure out if I can do it on my screen. Yes, I can. Okay, so this is the start of today's slide. Why do I have this? Shifu saying the power, response, and efficacy of the mantras are esoteric, not the mantras themselves. Well, it's because this is the mantras belong to the esoteric or secret school, and I mentioned earlier, people are attached to the form. So sometimes people, they want to, like certain cultures, they tattoo themselves with mantras, thinking that the mantras will protect them. If they tattoo themselves, they become bulletproof, or things like that, to ward off black magic. So according to Shufu, it says it's not the mantra itself which is esoteric or secret school, but it's rather the response that you get from the mantras. Okay, let's continue with Shufu's commentary, and then halfway I'm going to stop because I promised you all the story about the black hat woman. It's been 2 weeks. This is the 3rd week, and so I'm going to stop halfway when I look at the time, and then we'll get to the black hat story, black hat woman story. Okay, so continuing from last week, Shiva says when you recite the mantra, you shouldn't be motivated by greed, because just before this, Shiva was explaining about the benefits of holding or reciting a mantra. Oh, wait, before I forget. Okay, so I have, on my side, I have done certain things to allow for translation of captions to be enabled. All right, and then on your side, you have to register for certain apps to make that happen. I can't make that happen for you. So there is, if you look to Zoom, you sign into your Zoom account. I'm going to type into the chat box the apps that you can use. The first one is Worldly, all right, and then the second app is Event Cat for live translation and transcription, and then the third one is Boostlingo. Okay, so if you sign into your Zoom account, there's something called applications that you can add. So when I search for translation applications, these 3 came up. So just to be sure, on my side, I've already and not only enabled them, but I've registered. So on your side, you need to, if I'm not wrong, you need to activate it on your side so that you can get the translation. Okay. As to how, I don't know. I never tried it before. Okay. Ron, are you going to say something?
No, I'm sorry.
No? Okay. All right. So Shufu says, if you hold the precepts, then you won't be jealous or obstructive. You see how Shufu defines the precepts here. Shufu says you won't be greedy or angry, and your recitation of the mantra will generate pervasive responses and massive benefits. But if your behavior doesn't accord with the rules, the Dharma protecting good spirits will stay far away from you, and when something happens to you, they won't pay any attention. Therefore, those who recite the Shurangama mantra shouldn't be cunning or behave in ways that continually create offenses. Okay? At all times, they should be open and public-spirited. They should strive to benefit others, not themselves. They should cherish the ideals of bodhisattvas and cultivate the practices of bodhisattvas. In other words, you should always be at your best. If you find that the benefits of the mantras are something that you seek, then your part is that you have to continuously try to be at your best. So follow the examples of bodhisattvas. In other words, they must be proper in their behavior, proper in their intent, must not have defiled thoughts, and must not do impure deeds. They should be very attentive to cultivating purity. If on the one hand they cultivate the Shurangama mantra, excuse me, and on the other hand they don't follow the rules, then they will get themselves into deep trouble. Everyone should pay close attention to this point. All right, so like I said last week, this is like if you call the police and you are a criminal yourself, then you police are just catch you. You just make their life easy. Okay. So Shufu says, Shurangama mantra is extremely efficacious, but it is not that easy to master. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, let me pull out my slides because I just want to make sure I'm not repeating last week's slides. Yeah, okay, no, I'm not. All right. Because sometimes I read the slides so often, I don't know if it was last week or not. Okay. All right. So Shufu says, first, you cannot be selfish. Then next, you cannot be out to get your own private gains. And then you have to be magnanimous and devoid of selfish thoughts. You have to be impartial and not prejudiced, no favorites. You have to be willing to sacrifice yourself for the sake of others, and you have to have the resolve to universally save all living beings. All right? Okay. If you can embody the above listed qualities, then you will have swift success. Place close attention. You must hold the 5 precepts and practice the 10 good deeds. That's the very least you should do. Okay, what are the 10 good deeds? The 10 good deeds are basically an expansion of the 5 precepts. So the first is of the 10 wholesome deeds or the 10 good deeds is do not harm or do not kill, do not steal, nor engaging in sexual misconduct. That means you honor your own partner and other partners of other people. You don't lie. And so the rest half is on speech. So you don't lie, you don't flatter people. Why do you flatter? Because you want people to be on your side. It's not an honest way of speaking. Do not use indiscriminate and irresponsible speech. Do not use divisive speech. Divisive speech is saying to someone, causing someone not to like another person by spreading rumors, gossip, or even if it's true. No, the other person doesn't like you. Even if it's true, you shouldn't say it out. Harsh language that people don't like to hear. Unless if you're a parent and you have to scold someone, that doesn't fall under harsh language. Harsh language is to purposely hurt someone for selfish reasons. Okay, not to defame someone. Frivolous speech, that means you talk about the weather when you have nothing else to talk about. Not to be duplicitous. Duplicitous, how do you pronounce that? Duplicitous. That means you say one thing but mean another, I think. And then not to be greedy, not to crave things, not to be angry or have aversion. That means you push away certain things. You should be equanimous. Is there such a word? Equanimous? I know the word, but when I say it, doesn't sound natural. Anyway, yeah. And was someone just going to help me pronounce? No.
Equanimous? Is it
Equanimous? Okay, so there is such a word. Okay, all right. And then finally, not to be foolish or to hold mistaken views. Mistaken views are wrong views or deviant views. So those are the 10 good deeds. All right. Shiva says it won't work to practice this dharma, the dharma of holding mantras, if you are not following the rules. So Sachel had a question for me on WhatsApp. He has a lot of questions, but he doesn't want to join the lecture. He prefers to watch on YouTube. So Sachel, this is for you. That's Shufu telling you, okay, if you want to practice the dharma of mantras, you have to follow the rules. If you cultivate this dharma but you don't behave yourself, if you don't guard the precepts, or if you're always having defiled thoughts, then not only will there be no response, not only will you have no success, you will in fact bring disaster down upon yourself. All right. And so, when you are cultivating the Shurangama mantra, you must be very attentive to maintain purity with your body, your mouth, and your mind. That's the only way you're going to get a response. You cannot say things that cause schisms, or make people in the way place uneasy. You must pay attention to all aspects of your behavior, whether walking, standing, sitting, or lying down. It's not all right to always be washing other people's clothes, as it were. Take care of yourself. Look into yourself. What is washing other people's clothes? That means you're being a busybody. You're always looking outwards. Sometimes Shifu says, don't be a camera, because a camera can only take pictures outside of itself. It can't look at itself. Yeah. In Malaysia, they have the Malay culture. They say when you point at someone, if you make a fist and your forefinger is pointing at someone, then there are 3 fingers pointing back at you. You know, I think that's the same principle as the saying, people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Yeah, something like that. Okay, Shiva says the Shurangama mantra is an efficacious language. Every line has its own particular efficacy, but you don't need to think, why don't I get any responses from holding the Shurangama mantra? Don't pay any attention to whether there are responses or not. Just keep reciting it. It's like practicing martial arts. Every day, you have to practice your punches regardless of what your skill is like. Skill comes through training. It's impossible to have skill without training. By the same principle, you should cultivate your dharmas every day. Excuse me. No matter what happens, no matter how busy you are. That's practice. Like meditation, you have to constantly keep at it. Excuse me, just let me drink some water. You have to constantly keep at it, no matter how you feel. I have a story, I just thought of it. A personal story. Because before, I used to practice only when I wanted to, and when I didn't feel like it, I wouldn't practice. I'm not sure about you all, but that was totally normal for me. Until I went to the city of 10,000 Buddhas, and I joined the training program, and I couldn't escape. Like it or not, whether you're sleepy, whether you're tired, you're hungry, whether it's cold or hot, no matter what it is, you're happy or you're sad, you have to follow the schedule. You go along with the whole team. There were 12 of us. So, at that time, I think I was a novice monk. Maybe I was a trainee, a layperson holding the 8 precepts, or I was a novice monk. Anyway, I was someone who is like a slave. You don't have any rights because whatever they tell you, you have to do. And I was this particular monk. I won't name this monk, but this particular monk would always give me a hard time. And one day I just felt full of anger and resentment against this monk. But I couldn't do anything because my position was lower than a slave. Anyway, I just wanted to leave home. That was my aim. I wasn't going to let anyone say or do anything that would keep me from becoming a monk. No way. So, but it didn't mean that I wouldn't get upset. So I was very, very upset. Very, very, very upset. Especially since you can't do anything, that kind of upset. And so every day as a trainee, you have to do the Great Compassion Repentance. That is after lunch at 12:30 in the Buddha Hall. It's from, maybe CDTB is 12:45, either 12:30 or 12:45, and then it ends at close to 1:30. And after that, you go and work, mow the lawn, mow the grass or things like that. So I remember being very, very upset and then doing the Great Compassion Repentance. And there's a section in the Great Compassion Repentance that's about bowing. And when you bow, you're supposed to repent. And I was thinking to myself, I said, Shufu says that if you're upset with people, you should bow. Bowing is a very good exercise. And I thought, okay, I have nothing to lose. So in my mind, I imagined as I was bowing to that monk. Because, you can't take revenge or do anything like that. So what else could I do? So as I was bowing, I realized that bowing really works. If you put yourself in the right frame of mind and you can bring yourself to sincerely bow to someone, even if the person is the source of your greatest affliction at that time, it actually works. Yeah. But I would not have discovered that if I was lazy. If, like Shufu said, it's like practicing martial arts. Every day you have to do it, regardless. Just do it every day. And that's how you discover yourself. Because you apply yourself, you bring your best, you bring your worst, you bring your normal self as you practice. And if you apply yourself, that's how you can discover things about yourself. So if you're someone who has someone causing you great affliction, try bowing. You might have to bow for a while, or you might have to bow today and maybe tomorrow bow again, depending on your skill. But you have nothing to lose. Yeah. All right. Okay. Now, Shufu says, don't slack off after you've been at it for a while. Losing interest in the Shurangama mantra. It's certainly not the case that you will have some efficacious response as soon as you begin reciting it. Regardless of whether you perceive any response, you should continue reciting it every day. You must deepen your skill day by day. Success does not happen overnight. For instance, you have to study for 10, 20, or even 30 years before you gain real scholarship. It's the same with cultivation. All right? You must keep your mind on your recitation of the mantra, continuing your recitation without ever letting it get cut off. It should be just as important as putting on clothes, eating food, and going to sleep. You shouldn't be able to be without it for a single day. It doesn't matter whether there's any response, because by reciting every day, you will gradually have a foundation, and quite naturally, the mantra will function. And Shufu says, if you hope for its wonderful functions and inconceivable power, then you must not keep having false thoughts, always daydreaming and fantasizing. If you cut off your recitation of the mantra, that means you start thinking about something else, then you will not be able to attain samadhi. You must use your true mind and practice the Shurangama mantra with sincerity. What is a true mind? It means that for the sake of reciting the Shurangama mantra, you can forget all about time, and even space disappears. What is that? That single-minded concentration. That means nothing can pull you away from the inner sound of the mantra that you hold. And what is it like? Shufu says, you don't know if it's day or night. You don't know if you have eaten or not. You don't know if you have slept or not. You forget everything else. Everything disappears, and one thought extends for infinite eons, while infinite eons is one thought. That's the kind of spirit you should have. forgetting to eat and sleep for the sake of cultivating the Shurangama mantra. In that way, you certainly can attain the Shurangama Samadhi. What is this like? Okay, sometimes if you can meditate until you temporarily suppress your mad mind, the monkey mind, you will find that if you can carry that state with you, even when you are walking and you're eating, you will find that even time is a false construct. That means as you are sitting there or you're just doing nothing, 1 minute, 1 hour feels the same. You don't discriminate between time. Time is just a construct of the false mind. And that's kind of what it means when Shufu says one thought extends for infinite eons, and infinite eons is one thought. You can just sit there like how Mahakashyapa is doing right now. He's sitting in a cave, a silk cave, apparently, according to Shufu, at Chicken Foot Mountain, somewhere in China, waiting for Maitreya Buddha to come. Why? Because he has Shakyamuni Buddha's bowl and robes to pass on to the next Buddha, which is Maitreya Buddha. But that's not going to happen so he's been there for at least, depending on which Buddhist calendar you subscribe to, anywhere from 2,500 years to 3,000 years. He's been sitting there, and he's going to sit there. I calculated once when Maitreya Buddha will come. I don't remember anymore, but it's something like at least 3 billion years, something, or 300 billion, a long time. Yeah, a long time. And he's just going to be sitting there in Samadhi. Yeah, okay. Now, Shufu says, if you cannot be that way, then you aren't really cultivating the Shurangama Dharma door. Okay? It doesn't mean you don't try, but Shufu is describing the far end of skill develop. You should be that way not only in cultivating the Shurangama mantra, but in the cultivation of any Dharma door. Walking without realizing you are walking, sitting without being aware you are sitting, being unaware that you are thirsty or hungry. Well, you say, isn't that just turning into a stupid person? Someone who's unaware of everything. Oh, by the way, when Shufu says everything disappears and one thought extends for infinite eons, that's a very good description of the Huato method. The Huato method is the holding of the doubt or the who in your mind. And what you're supposed to do is you hold on to one thought without letting it evolve into another thought, just one thought. But you stretch the thought. So for 1 second, you hold the thought and you extend it for the next second and the next second and the next second. You just keep on holding one thought without your mind straying. So that's one way of describing the Huato method. One thought extends for infinite eons, and you can just pull the thought like a rubber band and you just pull throughout time while you're sitting on your cushion or you're walking. Okay, so wouldn't someone like this seem to be unaware of what's going on? Well, kind of yes, from the perspective of normal people, but at the same time, no. If you join a meditation session or you meditate at home, I think it's safe to say that most people who have encountered, you are sitting there and you hear a sound. It could be a siren, it could be the phone ringing, it could be something. But because your mind is very calm, you hear the sound. It's not that you don't hear a sound. You're not a stone, a rock. You hear a sound, but when your sit is over, you hear the bell or your timer and you get up. You forgot that you heard a sound. Why? Because when the sound, at the moment when you hear the sound, you don't follow after the sound. You're not attached to the sound. Until something makes you remember that you heard a sound and say, oh yeah, I did hear a sound. But at the moment after your sit, if no one had reminded you, you would have totally forgot that there was even a sound. It's like that. Okay. Now, Shifu says that's right. It's like you're like a stupid person. It says when you learn to be a big idiot, then you start to have some skill. Studying until you are as if stupid is the beginning of real insight. Shifu says if you can learn to be as if stupid, then no matter what Dharma door you cultivate, you will attain samadhi and gain some realization. So that's the only way you can break through your skandhas and unveil your true nature. See your original face. Uncover your original wisdom. It's just because you are unable to be stupid that you cannot properly enter into samadhi and don't get any response from your cultivation. So, what is it like being stupid? Well, nothing moves you. Nothing has power over you. So you're sitting there, someone puts a pile of gold in front of you. Okay? A normal, conventional, worldly person using worldly wisdom will start thinking about the goal that's just been placed in front of them. And the mind will be pulled in all different directions on how to the impact on the consequences of having the goal. But a person like how Shifu is describing genuinely has no response. The mind, it's not that physically you don't have a response, but the mind doesn't move. Because to the person sitting there with that kind of skill, whether it's gold, silver, or a pile of bricks, broken bricks, or a pile of stones, a pile of mud, it's all the same. When someone scolds you or praises you, you feel nothing. All the six sense objects, all the sensual objects have no control over you. Yeah. Whereas for normal people, we cannot help ourselves. We build worldly wisdom based on the fact that we are attached to pleasurable feelings of the sensual objects. We have to get rich. That's the goal in life. Emotional love. Hollywood tells us that falling in love, finding the partner is the best thing in life. That's the ultimate goal. And then the promise is that you will live happily ever after. Yeah. So to put it in another a slightly more extreme case, okay, between being what Shifu describes as stupid and what worldly people would say is smart. If there's someone who's very dishonest, say a thief, who does not waste any chance to enrich themselves at the expense of others. If they see someone ignoring money on the ground, say you hold the precepts and you see money on the ground and you say it's not yours, so you shouldn't touch it, and you leave it there. To the thief, that person seems really, really stupid. Yeah. Why? Because, why not benefit yourself? So from the perspective of worldly wisdom, which is based on ignorance and attachment, true wisdom actually doesn't look wise at all because you don't benefit yourself. All right, so that's what it means when Shifu says you seem really stupid. Okay, that's a story actually about there was I don't remember who was the monk. He was in China. The monk was sitting there meditating on a field, and the local prefect came and thought that the monk was had a lot of kung fu. So he said, okay, I'm going to give you money so you can build a temple. So he left a pile of, I think, coins or money, silver ingots or something like that, in front of the monk. And 2 or 3 years later, he thought to himself, oh, by now, I'm sure the monk would have built that temple. It's been so long. So he went back to look for the monk. The monk was still sitting out in the field. But there was nothing at all. Nothing had been built. And he thought to himself, oh, did this monk take the money and spend it all? Did I make a mistake? So he asked the monk and said, hey, where's the money I gave to you? And the monk said, oh, did you leave me money? Where did you leave it? Go look for it there. And sure enough, the pile of money was there untouched. So I think the local prefect realized, he is the real deal. And he built a temple on the monks' behalf instead of having to burden the monks with worldly concerns such as, building a temple. Yeah. All right. Okay, I'm going to go to the story now. Does anyone have any questions? Look for the slide. Anyone? No? Always ask. Always don't get questions. Okay. Okay, so this is Shufu's story. Oh, before I tell this story, I have another story about the Shurangama mantra. And there's it's like a a tale of caution. When people read the Shurangama Sutra and they know about the Shurangama mantra, sometimes they get the idea that the mantra will protect you because that's what they've been told. But we know now from Shufu's commentary that you have to be at a certain level for the mantra to work. And I'm saying this because there are practitioners that I know, either personally or I've heard of, who in practicing the Shurangama mantra, something happens to them that's similar to what the Buddha describes in the 50 skandha demon states, one of the chapters of the sutra. And they think that because they are already reciting the Shurangama mantra, that the states that they get are true states because they are pure. They think that the mantra keeps them pure without realizing that they still have desire or they can still get attached to states. And because of that, then they start doing weird things, like eating things they shouldn't be eating, or hearing voices, or claiming themselves to be enlightened. So it's very important that to also understand the whole sutra, where the Buddha emphasizes a lot on the 4 aspects of purity, which is how a practitioner who wants to practice the way should maintain themselves not just in body but also in mind, so that when the 50 skandha demon states were to happen, you are in a better position to keep yourself protected, and that you have to play your part as well and not just rely solely on the mantra itself. Okay, all right. Now, the As You Wish woman. This comes from Shufu's commentary on a book called The 10 Dharma Realms. Shufu says, on the 9th of the 3rd month, I returned to Xia Zunxiang's home in Xiangbaiqi, somewhere in China. When I arrived, he told me that one of my recent disciples, the daughter of Xia Wengshan, had fallen seriously ill. She hadn't eaten or drank water for 6 or 7 days. She did not speak and she looked fiercely angry as if she wanted to beat people. Then her mother came. Shufu, she said, my daughter became very ill a few days after taking refuge. She won't talk, eat, drink, but just glares and sticks her head on the bed. I don't know what illness she has. Okay. Now, when Shufu talks about stories like this, and if Shufu says things like possess, or is the mantra working, it's due to the mantra, or it's due to this, due to that, Shufu can say things like that. When someone says, there was an accident, but Guan Yin Pusat saved me. We can't say things like that unless you know for sure. If you know for sure, then you can claim that it was because you recited the mantra, or it was because of this or because of that. If you know for sure. Okay, but until then, practitioners, if they are not sure, shouldn't make claims as if they know. Some people say, Shufu is a bodhisattva. Well, to make that claim, you have to be a bodhisattva yourself. If not, how would you know? So we can say things like, I believe, or I think, or the sutra say. All right, so don't make claims. Shufu can make claims. Shufu, given his position, again, it's a matter of affinities. If Shufu is your master, you can trust him completely. I know some people who have Shifu as their masters, they don't trust Shifu completely because of affinities. So if you trust completely. If you don't, that's fine as well. So Shifu says, I said to her, I can't cure her, so it's useless to ask me. However, my disciple has opened his 5 eyes and knows people's past, present, and future affairs. You should ask him. So his disciple Han Kanji had also taken refuge on the I'm just going to call him Han, on the 24th of the 2nd month. At first, I had refused to take him as a disciple because before I had left home, the two of us had been good friends and had worked together in the Virtue Society. This is when Shifu was still in China. After I left home and Han opened his 5 eyes, he saw that life after life, I had always been his teacher. And so he wanted to take refuge with me. So Han is another person who can make certain claims. Why? Because he can see, he knows. Yeah, his 5 eyes are open. So Shifu said he told Han, you can diagnose illnesses, take a look. So Han sat in meditation and made a contemplative examination of the illness. Suddenly his face blanched with terror. He said, Shifu, we can't handle this one. It's beyond our control. What is it? Shifu said. He said, the demon who is causing the illness is extremely violent and can assume human form to bring chaos into the world and injury to humankind. Shifu says, what makes the demon so fierce? So Han says, the demon was a ghost long ago in the Zhou dynasty. Because it didn't behave properly, a virtuous man with spiritual powers shattered it with thunder. But the ghost spirit did not completely disperse, and it later fused into a powerful demon that could fly and vanish and appear again at will. The demon has refined a magic weapon. It's an exclusive anti-thunder device, a black hat made out of the thin membranes that cover the bodies of newborn children. That's the placenta, right? I think that's the placenta. Yeah. Anyway, when she wears the hat, the thunder cannot hurt her because thunder has a great aversion to filth. Don't ask me to explain all this, all right? I'm just telling you the story that Shifu told. Westerners think that thunder has no one controlling it, and while that may be the case for ordinary thunder, okay, so there's ordinary thunder and special kind of thunder that is used by the gods to punish the goblins, demons, and ghosts who wander throughout the world. In addition to the black hat, which protected her from thunder, she had refined 2 other magic weapons, 2 round balls. If she put her hat on someone, his soul would fall under her control, and he would become one of her followers. If she hit someone with one of the 2 round balls, he would immediately die. Okay, do you have a question? No? Okay, then I'm going to mute you. Okay, all right. Now, Han saw that she was such a fierce demon and said, Master, we can't handle this one. Then what will become of the sick girl? Shifu said. She will certainly die. There's no way to help her. And Shifu said, I can't allow her to die. If she weren't my disciple, I would pay no attention. But she took refuge with me on the 24th of last month. When those people had taken refuge, Shifu had taught them to recite the Great Compassion Mantra, the Ta Pei Chou. Shifu said, I had said to them, each of you should learn to recite the Great Compassion Mantra. It will be of great help to you. If you are in danger and distress and you recite it, Guanyin Bodhisattva will protect you. Since then, many of them had been reciting the Great Compassion Mantra. I said, if she hadn't taken refuge with me, I wouldn't care whether the demon took her life or not. But she took refuge with me, so I can't allow the demon to take her life. I've got to do something. When we arrived, the girl was lying on the bed with her head on the pillow and her bottom sticking up in the air. It was an embarrassing sight. Okay, I'm actually giving, believe it or not, I'm giving you the short version of this story. The long version has more details where, for example, Han refused, and then there was a back and forth between Han and Shifu and other details. So this is already the short version. So the possessed girl, eyes were as wide as like a cow. She glared at Shifu. And when Shifu asked what is the cause of the illness, he said 7 or 8 days earlier, an old woman around age 50 had been sitting beside an isolated grave outside the village. She was wearing a dark blue gown and had braided her hair backwards in two plaits or pigtails that went up her head in back and hung down across her temples. She was wearing yellow trousers and shoes, and she was crying mournfully beside the grave. Hearing her cries, the elderly Mrs. Xia went to comfort her, but she continued to cry, "Oh my person, and kept looking for her person." Okay, very strange. Finally, that woman stopped crying, and the two of them walked to the village gate. And Shufu says there must have been a spirit guarding the gate because the old woman couldn't go in. Okay, you all remember many classes ago we talked about different kind of devas. There are earthbound devas and there are heavenly devas. There are devas in the heavens, and then the devas that are not in the heavens, or the gods that are not in the heavens, we usually call them spirits. There are spirits in the air, spirits on the ground, and then there are earth spirits, water spirits, tree spirits, and then there's a certain kind of spirit that will occupy the space or the gate at the entrance of a city. You remember that? Okay. So apparently some of these spirits are also protectors. So anyway, that's what Shufu said. And the village was surrounded by a wall and had a gate on each of the four sides. Mrs. Xia went in, but the old woman stayed outside the gate crying. At that moment, Xia's horse cart returned to the village. When it reached the gate, the horse saw the woman and shied in fright, for horses can recognize things that people cannot see. As the horse cart went careering through the gate, the old woman followed it in. I think the old woman managed to follow it in. You know, when Shufu says horses can see things that humans cannot, people believe dogs can see things too, that humans can't. And if you think about it, our senses, human being senses, are actually really, really lousy. Animals have better eyesight. Animals, okay, not every animal, but there are animals that have better eyesight than humans. There are animals that have better smell, like dogs and pigs can smell a lot better than humans. Other animals can hear better, stronger, faster, in terms of the body. So humans are actually where our understanding of the world, compared to even like insects and all that, they can see different things. Or rather, the way the world can be seen, as human beings, we see the world through a very narrow gap compared to what other insects, creatures, animals can see. Yeah, okay. Now, moving on. And also like spirits, they can read your minds. They can see your thoughts. You don't have to say anything. They know what's going on with us. Okay, now, coming back. Probably the spirit who guarded the gate had his back turned, and in the confusion, she went sneaking through. The old woman ran to the house of Mr. Yu and continued to look for her person. She looked at Mr. Yu and then ran out of the house, where she was surrounded by 30 or 40 curious onlookers who jeered at her. "Stupid old woman, what's your last name?" And she said she doesn't have a last name. She said, "What's your first name?" And she said she doesn't know. She said, "I'm a corpse." That, in other words, she's dead. She said she's dead. And then they look at her as if she was a freak. Then she walked as if in a stupor until she reached the back wall of Xia's Wenshan's estate. She then threw her head over the 8-foot wall and in one jump leapt right over it. 8 feet, okay? No one else could have jumped over the wall. Then everyone said, "Oh, the stupid old woman knows Kung Fu." So they ran around the wall to the front gate to continue watching her. And then Xia Wengshan's son, this is a very complicated story, who had also taken refuge with Shufu, ran in the door and shouted to his mom, said, Mama, the stupid old woman is in our house, but don't be afraid." So the mother looked out the window but saw nothing strange. When she turned around, the woman was crawling up the big brick bed. She was halfway on the bed and halfway on the floor. I think this brick bed is, there's a name for it, is where you can light a fire under the bed if it's winter time, and it keeps you very cozy. Shufu's cottage in the city of 10,000 Buddhas, Shifu's bed is built that way. Yeah. Otherwise, you only find it in China. So the woman shouted to the mother shouted to the woman, but didn't get a reply. Then let me see. The mother and then her daughter her daughter was also in the room, began immediately to recite the mantra. Just as they recited the first line of the mantra, which is Namo Halai Donai Donai Ye, the old woman slipped to the ground and lay inert exactly like a corpse. Seeing that, the family was greatly upset. If someone were to die in their home, it would not be good. You can't sell the house because someone dies in your home, right? So anyway, they went for the sheriff. Then the sheriff saw the old woman laying there, and he managed to pick her up with one hand. She was very light. So he took him to the village courthouse for questioning. And when they questioned her, she just said, "Don't ask me, I'm just a corpse. I have no name, I have no home. I just live wherever I am." So she has left the home life. So frightened by her strange talk and behavior, the sheriff escorted her at pistol point, pointed a gun at her, some 50 paces outside the village. But when he returned to the village gate, she was right behind him. He took her 70 paces and she followed him back again. And then, finally, he and 3 deputies took her 150 paces outside the village and said, "Get out or get shot." And then they fired 2 warning shots in the air. And remember the story about how in the past she was caught by thunder and lightning, or thunder, lightning, or just, I can't remember which one, thunder. The old woman fell to the ground in terror, thinking the shots were thunder which had destroyed her before. This time she didn't follow them back to the village. Then when the sheriff and his men returned, they heard that Xia's daughter was sick, not speaking, eating, or sleeping, but just lying on the bed, staring in rage with her head on the pillow and the bottom sticking up in the air. And she didn't eat for 7 or 8 days. Alright, so if this kind of story sounds strange to you, you should be glad, because I don't think these are the things people want first-hand knowledge of, yeah. So anyway, before we went to Xia's home, Shufu said to Han, he said, "You said that if we try to handle the matter, we would die. Well, I would rather die than not saving one of my disciples. First of all, I must save those who have taken refuge with me. I can't just stand by and let them die. Secondly, I must save the demon." Okay, there's a twist there. "You say no one can control her, but she has committed so many offenses, there's bound to be someone who can subdue her. If she were to be destroyed, it would be a great pity, for she has cultivated diligently for many years. Even if she has enough power to kill me, I'll still save her. Finally, I must save all living beings in the world, and if I don't subdue her now, in the future many people will be harmed by her. For these 3 reasons, then I'm going to work." So then apparently the sheriff passed by Shufu, heard Shufu explaining who this lady was, and she said, "Oh, no wonder I was able to pick her up with one hand as if she was weightless." Yeah, she was actually a demon. So Shufu said they had to find the demon first. And how? Well, Shufu says there are 5 kinds of dharmas in the Shurangama mantra. In another commentary, Shufu says the esoteric school is split up into 5 different parts. And that's why there are 5 parts of the Shurangama mantra. And depending on what's going on in your life, if you know how to use it, you don't have to use all the 5 parts. You can use a specific section of specific part or specific section of one part. And Shufu says 1 is the dharma for extinguishing calamities. If you are due to suffer a calamity, you can use this dharma to avoid it. There's also the dharma for creating auspiciousness or good luck, which turns inauspicious events into auspicious events. Then there's the dharma of summoning and hooking. You can catch goblins, demons, and ghosts no matter how far away they are. There's also the dharma of subduing and conquering, which allows you to subdue any demon that comes. So these 5. So Shufu says, I employed these dharmas on the Shurangama mantra to summon the as you wish demon woman. I look, it doesn't explain why her name is as you wish demon woman. Sometimes she's other stories she's just known as the black hat woman. Then Shufu says when she entered the room, she had about her an intense and nauseating stench. She smelled really bad. She came in and tried to put her magic weapon, the black hat, on my head, but couldn't get it on me. Then she took out her round balls and tried to hit me, but they missed my body. Both of her magic weapons had failed. Knowing she was finished, she turned to run. But when she first arrived, I had set up an invincible boundary that would trap her no matter where she tried to go. The gods, dragons, and others of the Eightfold Division of Dharma Protectors watched her from the left, right, front, rear, above, and below. Seeing that she couldn't get away, she knelt and wept. I then spoke the Dharma for her. I explained the Four Noble Truths, the 12 causes and conditions, and the 6 perfections. She immediately understood, resolved to realize Bodhi, and asked to take refuge with the Triple Jewel. I accepted her and gave her the name Vajra, as you will. Oh, so that's where her name came from. Okay, alright. I accepted her and gave her the name Vajra, as you will, maiden. She followed me around to save people, but her basic makeup was that of a demon. And no matter where she went, she carried an overwhelming stench. Seeing that it wouldn't do for her to follow me, I sent her to Leifa Mountain in Chowhe County in Jilin Province to cultivate in the exquisite cave of the 10,000 saints. Alright, now, what I don't, let me see, maybe I do. Okay, I don't. What I don't have for you is what Shufu explained about this exquisite cave of the 10,000 saints. Apparently, Shufu has sent many of his disciples to practice there. And if I'm not wrong, I think this cave is not on Jambuvidpa. Okay, I'm just making things up. Oh, okay. I'm just making things up. But if I were to infer, if I were to draw lines, okay, I think this cave is on another continent where people with spiritual powers can go to. It's where if you're a rishi or you are you are someone with spiritual powers, you can fly away from human beings and go to another place, which is very nice. And Shufu says there are a lot of weird occurrences there, weird from our perspective. And so that's where he sent her. Yeah, Shufu gave some details. I can't remember what they were anymore. Very interesting. Yeah. Okay. Now it's time to end the lecture for today. Again, I'm going to ask, does anyone have any questions? No? No questions? Okay. I know some people are skeptical when it comes to things that lie beyond their own experience, that lie beyond what their skandhas allow them to experience. Because the skandhas actually limit us from what actually is going on. So I had this story. When I was growing up, we had a family friend. The husband was British. The wife was from Thailand, and the wife's name was Anita. And I was very young at that time. I think I was maybe, I don't know, less than 10 years old. And the husband, being British, wasn't exposed to a lot of the mystic side of sometimes what people in Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, maybe not Singapore, China, and in between take for granted. You know, that we have a very strong respect for the spiritual side of things. So the husband told and my mom knows, the wife had the wife kept 2 spirits, and the spirits were from, I think, unborn children, or something like that, like unborn children or aborted fetuses. And the wife had a little dollhouse with 2 dolls inside, and that was where their home was for these 2 spirits. And the wife would feed her little children, these little spirit children, her blood. And the reason she would do that is that so that they will protect the house. And they were our neighbors. My dad used to work for an oil palm company, and we would stay in estates. So they were neighbors in the estate, and they did protect the house, because one day the house was broken into, and the robber, after going into the house, could not find a way outside of the house. Every time he tried to open the door that he thought led to outside, it just led him back inside the house. And when the police arrived, they found him just sitting on the floor, like totally resigned. He just tried and couldn't find a way out. And the police asked him, why are you just sitting there? He said, well, I tried my best. I just couldn't escape. So she said it was because of the spirits. Anyway, her husband complained to my father that he was very scared, because at night he would hear like little footsteps of little children, something like little footsteps running around the house. And I'm not sure, I have to ask my mom, but I think he also heard children laughing in the house. And at that time they had no children. So yes, so things like that do happen. Yeah. And eventually when she conceived a child of her own, she had to do something to give the little spirits away for someone else to look after them. Yeah. So apparently there's a normal thing in Thai culture. Yeah. All right. Okay. So I just thought to share that personal true story. Okay. Let me get. I'm sure people have a lot of stories of their own to share on this. Yeah. But I will be interested if you have questions instead. Okay.
Pastor,
Yes,
I think
Melinda.
what they call it, because of all those demons and spirits, so I think to take the 5 precepts is a very with a lot of advantages, in the sense that there are 25 Dharma protectors protect us if we uphold the precepts correctly. This is what the comment I want to make. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Not just 25. Later, when we come to the proper section on the Medicine Master Buddha Sutra, you will find that if you are a good person, okay, if you, like how Shufu described, if you want to practice the mantra or any other Buddhist practice, the 10 wholesome deeds and the 5 precepts, you will receive the protection of even evil spirits. Yeah, even evil spirits will protect you. Yeah, so it's very important. Yeah, not to be to always try our best to follow. If you're a Buddhist disciple and if you're a disciple of the Buddha, you have taken refuge, and you try your best. We will come to the section. Yeah, the 12 Yaksha generals, they pledge their promise to the Buddha that all their retinue will protect people. Not only that, there are other sutras as well. Astor Sutra, I think the Lotus Sutra as well. Yeah, where the dragon kings and all that, they all say we will protect disciples of the Buddha. Okay, dedication of merit. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Excuse me. Okay, let's do 3 bows to the Buddha. Just let me change my setting. Okay, all right. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. Half bow. Bowing respect to the Realm Master. Second bow. Third bow. Half bow. Okay, Amitofa everyone, and we'll see you all next week. Maybe you have more questions then.